Hey guys, what's up? Here we are, week 3 of a series where I am hopefully inspiring you between me, Morgan, and here in the future and several weeks, others, inspiring you to believe in yourself the way Jesus believes in you. And I want to start off with a question. What is one word? Okay, I know there's probably a lot of words, but what is one word? Okay, one word that you were not allowed to say in your household. As I think about that growing up, there was one word that was kind of an annoying word because it wasn't even a bad word. And my dad was like, never say this word. Never, ever, ever say this word. What's your word? Because the word that my dad said, in fact, he said it like this. So this is kind of how the phrase went. Never say never. Which we're all like, for lots of reasons, Dad, that makes absolutely no sense. But he would say never, to which I would internally, I was never tenacious enough to actually tell my dad this, but inside I felt, well, you use this word twice. Okay, you use a word I'm not allowed to use twice in one sentence. Never say never, to which I'm like, never? Okay, no. But like he'd say never say never. See, my dad was trying to instill in each of us boys to believe in ourselves. My dad believed in me. He believed I should believe in myself. And to this day, he's one of my biggest supporters. In fact, he's the one I always go to because of what he instilled in me, this philosophy of it, never say never. I go to him when I need the greatest support. My dad always said, never say never. Now, your list is probably stupid because stupid is on your list. My daughter comes to me all the time and says, Daddy, Mama says, which is my mom, don't say stupid. I'm like, well, that's stupid. Okay? But she hates because she's like, you can't use the word. And my dad did that. He's like, never say never. And I'm like, you just did twice. Here's the truth, right? My dad was trying to instill in me belief. Hey, I believe in you, Jason. You should believe in yourself. But here's the crazy part. He didn't say that like in this isolated, uneventful, unimportant moment. It wasn't like he just randomly came up to me and said, hey, son, I want to tell you something. Here's a life principle, never say never. I mean, he always said it when we were in the midst of a conversation where I didn't believe in myself. When I needed to have a little bit of a confidence boost. In a moment where I needed self-belief and didn't have it, my dad would say never. In other words, believe in yourself, son. You got it. And when he didn't, he would advise me. When he didn't think it was something I should do or was wise to do, or maybe, Jason, don't believe in yourself in that area, he would very politely and directly kind of redirect me. But most of the time, almost exclusively, my dad would say never. I believe in you. You should believe in yourself. But when Jesus said that to Zacchaeus, he didn't say it randomly, just like my dad didn't say it randomly to me, just like Jesus every single day, I think is trying to say the same thing to all of us. Never say never. Because what we've been talking about for a few weeks is that you have many reasons not to believe in yourself. You know exactly what you have done. Zacchaeus is a tax collector, and we're reminded that he is a tax collector. We know all the things he's done. He processed so much of this story based upon what he did. He knows why he should never, ever try. He knows why he should say the phrase never. As Morgan alluded to and brought us so close to last week, that when we have, just to quote her, when we have this belief about ourselves and others, especially those we believe in, those we are seeking out like our parents and our best friends and our teachers and your youth pastors, those who say and oftentimes show that they love you, when we have this belief about ourselves and others confirm that, then we believe it must be true. I want to tell you right now, that's a big myth. My dad was so right because Jesus, throughout the New Testament narrative, throughout the Bible, biblical narrative, Jesus illustrated over and over and over again that you and I should believe in ourselves. Why? Because Jesus believes in us. But the struggle is, you have tons of reasons to say never. You have tons of reasons to say, nope, not going to do that. Nope, not going to talk to her or him. Not going to step into that adventure. Nope, not going to accept that invitation, even though it might be the right invitation to try something, to do something, to take on some responsibility. You're like, no. I don't believe in myself. And you can actually clearly articulate tons of reasons, at least significant reasons, as to say why I would never, ever try. And those aren't hypothetical circumstances. Those are real life circumstances. You are faced with the decision to do something, the need to do something, and you often don't do it. I want to tell you about one of those for me as we move into the story of Zacchaeus. I'll never forget being in seventh grade, okay? It was in a weird season, kind of a traumatic season of my family and my life, and my dad was like, never say never, never say never, never say never. And he was pushing me. I don't know why, like this is kind of the first time he ever did this in seventh grade. He was pushing me, my twin Jeremy, to go and try out for every sport. As every season came up, my dad was like, you gotta go try out. Now, where I grew up, part of my life in Illinois, football wasn't that big of a deal. Everything was about baseball and somewhat basketball because, well, let's be real, it was Illinois and not Indiana. But where I grew up, football, at least at the younger ages, wasn't a big deal. And when all of a sudden I moved to Indiana, I'm in seventh grade, and my dad's like, you gotta try out for the football team. I'm like, I can't play football, Dad. We've never played football. Why would I do that? And my dad tells me this. He goes, Jason, don't come home. This is a little bit forward, okay? Don't come home. Don't come home without telling me that you tried out today. Don't come home. And well, I broke it. I disobeyed. I said, never will I do that. Never will I do that. And I didn't. I came home, never tried out. And guess what? As a result of this belief, my dad attempted to tell me, Jason, you can do it. I went home early, did not try out for football, and never played a day of football in my life. Today, I kind of like football, not a huge lover of football. And even as I got into high school, my friends were like, Jason, you're stronger than anybody else. You should come play football with them. I mean, the football players were asking me to come play with them. And yet I spoke in a real life, simple, insignificant situation. I said, never. You see, here's the truth right now. You and I are in tons of circumstances almost every day, some of them really important, where someone's telling you, never say never. In fact, Jesus repeatedly is telling each of us, never say never. They're saying, I believe in you. You should believe in yourself. And here's the crazy part, guys. I walked away that morning knowing that my dad believed in me. I knew that he really thought I could make the team. I knew he thought that I could probably was athletic enough. I could play and provide something to the football team. In fact, it kind of became a trend that I didn't want to disappoint my dad, not just because my dad had these expectations, but because I knew my dad believed in me. And Jesus believes in you and I. And here's the thing I kind of mentioned a couple weeks ago, and I want to bring up this tension again, is oftentimes we're told to believe in Jesus and forget that we only believe in Jesus because Jesus first believed in us. Let me say that again. The reason why you and I should believe in Jesus is because Jesus said, never say never. Jesus said, I believe in you. Jesus is saying to you and I tonight, I believe in you. And his invitation is, will you believe in yourself the way I, Jesus, believe in you? Jason, will you believe in yourself the way Jesus believes in you? You see, we encounter a guy in Zacchaeus that we have been looking at in Luke chapter 19 that struggled and had every reason to struggle believing in himself. In fact, though he was a Jew, though he was a child of Abraham, that Jesus makes very clear at the very end of the story, we discover a Zacchaeus that never believed that Jesus could believe in him, and he had all the reasons. We know his story, and we know the labels that Morgan last week pointed out to us. He had every reason not to believe in himself. He had a long list of reasons to say never. And this is what's crazy. Zacchaeus allowed that never, that doubt, that, well, I know Jesus believes in me, but I'm not entirely sure I can believe in myself. They allowed that disparity between what he believed about himself and what Jesus believed about him. It impacted his daily behaviors. It impacted his ability to try out for the team. It impacted his ability, though maybe he thought others believed in him, though Jesus, maybe Jesus of all people believes in me. It impacted his inability to believe in himself the way Jesus believed in him, prevented him from asking the crowd, can I get to the front? Prevented him from ever, this is important, ever seeking to even talk to Jesus. It tells us that he runs ahead of the crowd and climbs a sycamore fig tree to see Jesus, because Jesus was going to come that way. If he can't get in front of the crowd and he's too scared in front of the crowd, talk to the crowd, I'm just going to run to the front. And so he runs to the front where there is no crowd. And rather than standing on the street where maybe he might be able to interact with Jesus, he simply climbs a tree, which gets him out of the way of Jesus, gets him out of the way of the crowd, gets him where he belongs, because he's a never. He believes in Jesus enough to see Jesus, but doesn't believe in himself enough to actually encounter and have a relationship with Jesus. You see what happened? He believed in Jesus, but failed to believe in himself the way Jesus believed in him. And then Jesus does something radical. It said when Jesus reached the spot, beginning in verse 5 of Luke chapter 19, he looked up into the sycamore tree, seeing Zacchaeus up there, and Jesus says to Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. And out of great shock and astonishment, Zacchaeus quickly comes down at once, he says, and welcomed Jesus into his home gladly. And as we discussed last week, the crowd gets really disturbed by this as Jesus actually enters Zacchaeus' home and all of his friends that likely were sinners, because as Morgan said very clearly, he was outcasted. There's no way he had anybody there that anybody else would have wanted to hang out with. And Zacchaeus, I love this, encounters a Jesus that says, never say never. Believe in yourself, and I believe in you. And this is what I want you to see tonight, okay? I want you to see what happens when we choose to never say never. When you and I actually come to a position to say, yes, I not just believe in Jesus, but I believe in myself the way Jesus believes in me. What happens to us the moment we begin to believe in ourselves the way Jesus believes in you? It tells us this. All the people saw what happened and began to mutter, Jesus is really gone to be the guest of a sinner. But Jesus has dinner, okay, with Zacchaeus. He's been welcomed into the house. And after some time, we don't know how much time, but some time has spanned. Enough time for the crowd to be really confused. Jesus actually went, watching it all happen. But it tells us this. As Zacchaeus receives the unbelievable, astonishing, shocking love of Jesus, as it becomes evidently clear that Jesus believes in him, that he's worth it, that he's lovable, that Jesus can actually have a relationship with him. When Zacchaeus is bombarded with the reality that Jesus never said never, and that Zacchaeus shouldn't, look what Zacchaeus does. It says, despite the crowd, but Zacchaeus stood up. He stood up from the table. He stood up from his room, and he said to the Lord, he said to Jesus, look, Lord, here and now, right now, I'm going to make a decision. Right now, I'm going to respond. Right now, I'm going to believe, and I'm going to prove it to you. Okay, I love this. I'm going to prove to you that I believe in myself the way you believe in me. I believe what you say is true, and I'm going to embrace it. Here and now, I give half my possessions to the poor, and if I, meaning now and in the future, have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. And listen to what Jesus says. Jesus says to him, today salvation has come to this house. Salvation has come to you because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save the lost. I love this. Most of this story is about Zacchaeus hiding underneath the reasons that he can say never. And Jesus breaks into his never and says, never say never. Say it with me right now. Never say never. One more time. Never, I know this is weird because we're across the camera, but say it with me. Come on. Never say never. Never say never. Because the moment you and I embrace what Jesus believes about us, it begins to reshape, let me say this, it begins to reshape what we believe in us, believe about us, and reshape and renew what we are willing to do. Let me say that again. When you and I embrace that Jesus never said never and tells us never to say never, but yet Jesus says to us, I believe in you and you should believe in yourself. When we begin to believe that, it changes everything. It allowed Zacchaeus to go from a distant follower, a distant watcher. I see you, Jesus. He believed enough in Jesus. I think he was important enough to see. You see that? Zacchaeus had already believed in Jesus. He just didn't believe in himself. But the moment he encounters the genuine love of Jesus, that Jesus is offering you and I tonight and every single day, and has been your entire life, when Zacchaeus meets the love of Jesus, it begins to reshape immediately how he lives. He admits, I might make mistakes. I might not always live in the never say never. I might not always live believing in myself. But if I don't, here's how I'm going to prove I believe in you. And let me ask you this question. When was the last time you proved to Jesus that you believe? When was the last time you stood up and said, here and now? When was the last time? Maybe for you it's been a while. Maybe for you it's never. It's still a never. You have never said, Jesus, I'll never say never again. When was the last time you responded to the love and the grace of Jesus and the reality that Jesus firmly believes in you, and you stood up and said, never will I ever say never again. Here and now I give you my life. Jesus, I will begin to believe in myself. When was the last time? Today, maybe. Is it possible you need to say to Jesus, I'll never say never again. I believe in you, and I believe about me what you, Jesus, believe about me. I wonder for you right now if what you need to do is say, okay, I know my reasons, Jesus, and you just need to name them. You need to name what you've done, what you feel about yourself. Maybe you need to name and just acknowledge the people in your life, the bullies in your life that are telling you you aren't special, who are honestly filling with you with life. Maybe you just need to name who's in your crowd like Zacchaeus. And you need to acknowledge what you've done. And you just need to turn to Jesus and you need to say, Jesus, never will I say never again. I believe in you. And prove it. And prove it by saying yes. Prove it by saying yes to the love of Jesus and believing in yourself. You know what's crazy about Zacchaeus? I can't imagine Zacchaeus' life as he gets into this ugly place and has no way out. I mean, once you get into a lifestyle of that type of trend, you don't get out of it. And Zacchaeus has no way out until he encounters Jesus. All he has is never. And he encounters the unbelievable love of Jesus. And for the first time, he has a way out. He has a first time he has the ability to say, I'll never say never again. And he gets out of it and he proves it because he gave his life to Jesus and he begins to do behaviorally the impossible. He gives the money back and he changes his lifestyle. He says, never again will I cheat anybody out of anything. And I don't know what it is for you. Maybe Jesus is calling you to forgive somebody. Maybe Jesus is calling you to trust him. Maybe Jesus is calling you to say, hey, will you believe in me and start a relationship with me? I want to challenge you tonight. Never say never and prove it. Never say never and prove it. Tell Jesus right now, I'll never say never again. Jesus, I believe in you. I believe in myself the way you believe in me. Because Jesus, right now, has already done everything he needs to do to prove to you that he loves you, that you are worth it, that you are valuable, that you can do it, that you're going to make it. Whatever he's calling you to, whatever he's challenging you to get through, it's possible. It's already done because nothing is impossible for those who trust in God. So tonight, believe in yourself the way Jesus believes in you.